All right, so today I wanted to show you how to use rubrics in Schoology, which are a really great feature for you to use when you are grading any number of types of assignments in Schoology. Rubrics can be created in a couple of different places. You can go to your resources and in your file box, anyone that you have created, one of the resources that you can add is a rubric. This is a great place that if you want to create it separately from your courses, your resources are of course available from year to year, so you can create it in there and then have access to it from year to year. But what I'm going to show you today is how to create it within your actual class. So once you click into your class, you're going to go to Grade Setup, and then over on the right where it says Skills and Rubrics, you're actually going to change it over to Rubrics. So I can see here the rubrics that I've already created, but I'm going to show you how to create one today in here. So I'm going to click on Add and add a rubric, and this pops up what very much looks like a normal rubric. You can title it. You can then add any sort of title or descriptions for your criteria. So I might add something like length of essay, and then the requirements that it's supposed to be 5 pages. And then I can actually go over here and be very specific in my grading scale. I can change the number of points for each level. I can also change the description. Now, I would suggest that you be very specific in your descriptions. It helps your students because they'll actually have access to the rubric when they're completing their assignment, so they can see when they're completing it exactly what your expectations are. But it also helps you when you're in the grading process to be able to know exactly what you want for 4 points, for 3 points, for 2 points. And that way you can be consistent with all of your students in all of your classes. Another great thing, though, about the rubric is in addition to just creating my own criteria, I can also tie the criteria to specific standards. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to click on Add Learning Objectives. I'm going to find our state standards. Click on South Carolina. Find our ELA standards under College and Career Ready, and I'm going to use 7th grade standards since those are the ones I am most familiar with. Select Writing, since this is for an essay, and I can actually select as many standards as I want. So for this one, I'm going to make this essay rubric specifically for informative assignments. Keep clicking until I get to the indicators, and from here I can select as many indicators as I would like. So I can keep on selecting. I can even go back into different standards and add indicators from different standards. But once I've selected all the indicators that I want, I select Add Learning Objectives, and now you can actually see them in my essay. Again, from here, I can still edit the number of points. So if I think one of my criteria is worth more points than others, I can leave length of essay as only 4 points, but I can change for perhaps the needing an introduction as being up to 10 points, and then just keep clicking through and making the other ones different points. So I can keep changing pretty much everything. And like I said, I would really recommend that you be as specific as possible in your descriptions, so that way for both your students and for yourself, you know exactly what you're looking for. So once I'm done, I'm going to hit Create. And now you can see the essay rubric is in my rubric section. From here, I can hit the gear icon. I can copy it to my other courses, which I would definitely suggest that you do, since you'll obviously need it in whatever courses you're teaching. And you can also from here save it to your resources. So that way, if you do want to use your rubric from year to year, you'll be able to have it in your resources. So now that I have my rubric, I can go back and create whatever assessments I need to create. So for example, let's say I'm creating a test or quiz. I know that the 7th graders right now are just finishing up Fever 1793. So I'm going to create a test that they're going to take tomorrow, put it in the test category. And then when I go in and create the test questions, if I was creating an essay question, I can select essay. I can type my question or prompt. And then when I go down here, when I can actually select the rubric, essay rubric, it's now pulling in all of those standards that I have selected into this question, which means that you're now tying it to their mastery level that you can see in the mastery feature of Schoology. I hit Create Question, and now when the students go to that essay question in their test, they'll be able to pop up the rubric and again see your expectations. When you go into their test to grade their essay, the rubric will be there for you to use as well. And that works the same no matter how you use the rubric. So if you tie it to a question, if you create a Google Drive assignment, you can select rubrics for that. And when you're in the Google Drive part of Schoology, looking at the students' assignments, you can pop up the rubric and complete their grade right then and there. But another great thing about it is that I can also even use it for things that don't actually show up in Schoology. So for example, let's say that my kids today are doing a project presentation. So I can create the assignment, so fever presentation. I don't use Google Drive because they're going to be presenting it in class. So I'm saying they're going to do this today. It's going to be another test grade for them. And then now I'm going to go down here and select the project presentation. So that, again, has pulled in my indicators from our standards, and I'm going to hit create. So now let's say I am in class and my kids are in the process of doing their presentation. When I go over to my gradebook, I can actually see the presentation here. And if I click on, let's say Jess is getting ready to do her presentation, I pop it up and there's the rubric. So as Jess is presenting, I'm going to click on the different parts of the rubric. So I'm going to say, hey, she had great eye contact. She only did one picture and video, though. She did have all of her sources. She only used communication techniques through most of the presentation, and the craft was through most of the presentation. So I've now selected everything. And then now I hit save, and Jess's grade is now saved in the system. So that's a really great way to use rubrics, and kind of a quick rundown of how to both create them, but also how to use them in your classes. And like I said, they're a great way to provide very specific information to your kids about what your expectations are for an assignment. It's also a great way for you to be very specific when you're grading and be very consistent in all of your grades, of course, across your different courses. You can use it for information and assessments and assignments that students complete in Schoology, but you can also use it for yourself, just for your grades. So that's rubrics for you. I hope that is helpful.